So here we are, just over a week to go before the 2025 Dungeons & Dragons Monster Manual is released. And it's been without controversy from the snippets that we've had. And in today's video, I think this is probably the funniest thing I've read about this new edition because they are changing or have changed not the stat blocks, but the names of a variety of the creatures for various different reasons, somatic reasons, but also because it's just let's just get into this because some of this is pure comedy gold, in my opinion. So before I get into the article, my name's Adrian from Dungeon Dyslexia. This is my channel based on role-playing news reviews. I also do crowdfunding. I do have a Discord, so if you want to come and join me over there, please do so. Link for the Discord is in the description of my channel. Yeah, let's read this through together. It's comedy at best. So every monster's replacement in D&D's 2025 Monster Manual. So the 2025 edition of the Monster Manual is to make some massive changes to monsters, replacing several of its most iconic enemies with alternate additions. D&D has made quite a few changes in the last year, beginning with new mechanics, the balancing tweak for the 24 version of the Player's Handbook, and the Dungeon Master's Guide. Next came a new series of subclasses via Earthed Arcana. Most recent changes concern the Monster Manual, the resource full of stat blocks for planning, executing enemy encounters. Obviously, not a lot of lore. I covered that. It doesn't say it in this article, but it is predominantly a book of 500 plus stat blocks. Not a lot of other stuff's going to be in there. In order to update the Monster Manual, D&D is getting rid of a lot of the old stat blocks, but instead completely removing them from the 2025 Monster Manual, including a handy dandy table of its easy equivalent. So these are monsters out, and then monsters coming back in. And I can't believe they've actually, some of the decisions they've made here, I think we're all going to have a bit of a laugh about. Some of them I think make sense. Others say, oh, it's just odd. In case the DM is struggling to find a quick replacement for the favourite bit of cannon fodder, there's every suggested alternative monster in the 2025 Monster Manual that the original 5e monsters were based on, and a quick rundown for the reasoning behind the decision. So here we go. I think this is actually the cover of the Monster Manual in here, and some of the artwork. This is looking good. So it's artwork's looking good. Okay, so the table below contains every monster stat block that was changed or removed in the 2025 Monster Manual, and the suggested alternative according to the book's own appendices. The suggested alternatives may be nearly identical to the 2014 Monster Manual version or completely unrecognizable. Remember, completely unrecognizable. It varies from case to case. So here we got down the left-hand side is the 2014 Monster Stat block that you will, if you've had that book, you're going to recognize it from things like Cyclops, Drow, Fire Snake, Flying Sword. So this is some of the things they changed. Kobold, Lizard Folk, Orcs. So remember the orcs? They are out of this book entirely. They've become species and they're in the player's guide, so you won't be hunting any orc. Let's hunt some orc, says Legolas. Not going to happen. Thug, etc. So let's have a look at some of the examples that are now in the 2025 equivalent. So Acolyte gone, Priest Acolyte replacement. Good luck finding that, because also these are going to be alphabetized in the 2025 Monster Manual. So they're getting rid of the groups and they're going to alphabetize by name the equivalent monster. So here we've got the Andro Sphinx is out, now Sphinx Valor. So we're going to be able to find that, but this is done from a gender point of view. So the adult blue Dracolich is now just a Dracolich. Bugbear out, Bugbear Warrior in. Centaur out, Centaur Trooper in. All seems not too bad so far. Deep Gnome is now just a scout. So if you want to play or have a Deep Gnome, you can't. If you want to throw Drow at them, Priest Acolyte. Drow Elite Warrior, they're going to be fighting a Gladiator. Drow Mage, Bandit Deceiver. Drow Priestess of Loth, so quite an important monster, in inverted commas, if you are running a drow campaign. Fiend cultist. Durgar, spy. Um, fire snake, salamander fire snake. Flying sword, love this one. Can't call it a flying sword anymore. Animated flying sword. Though this will be easier to find if you're looking for animated monsters. Gas spore fungus. Giant poisonous snake. Giant venomous snake. Because venom beats poison. So we've got some gnolls. Gnolls are allowed to stay. So drow out of the book entirely. Gnolls, they're in. Gnoll warrior. Goblins have stayed. Goblin warrior. Half orc. So you can play a half creature because so you got the Agrillion here, ogre, but half red dragon veteran is a half dragon. So you can't be a half elf or half dwarf. I know that's more dark sun, or half orc. But you can be a half dragon, so that's fine. Standard lizard folk. Oh no, can't put lizard folk at people, not a normal lizard folk. But you can have a lizard geomancer. So if they're a geomancer, not a shaman, because you can't have the man part in there, they've got to be geomancer. Weirdly though, mancer still has the word man in it. Excuse my sarcasm. Because lizard king or queen, lizard sovereign. That one probably makes sense. Why not call them kings or queens if they are either a king or a queen? So merfolk and minotaurs have got subtitles as well. So the monodromes have now got this modron monodrome. Orcs tough. Say orcs are out, toughs are in. Orc war boss, tough boss, tough boss. You're gonna have to go into the player's guide to look for T to find a tough boss. So you can have a tough or a tough boss. Then you back into the poisonous venomous snakes, Quipper. Here we go, Piranha, Shrieker fungus. 3 green, that's absolutely fine as long as you put Marauder after it. Thug is now a tough. Tribal warrior, warrior infantry. So veteran, warrior, veteran. See, there's going to be, I think, a little bit of difficulty in finding things purely by alphabet. Young red shadow dragon is just a shadow dragon now, and Yuan-ti pureblood, Yuan-ti infiltrator. There are other examples. I'm not going to read them all out. So the article then goes on to say, do note that in every case listed, the suggested alternative monster is an equivalent challenge rating, so CR rating associated to 2014 original. That way, the DM doesn't have to scrap or rebalance the entire encounter. So if you've got a pre-made encounter and it's got any of these creatures in it down the left-hand side, you just replace it in the monster manuals. That's easy. That's nice and simple to follow. Because the plants monsters have been removed from the game, they can simply swap in the appropriate alternative from the table above. So let's go and explain why the replacements. There are many reasons the Monster Manual has changed in 2025. Some of them are simply corrected inaccuracies from previous editions. For example, the switch from poisonous to venomous is simply a matter of semantic accuracy. Others are for the sake of consistency, clarity, or simplicity, like the addition of the modron prefix to the various drone enemies in the table, so it will make them easier to find if you're looking for a modron, or you at least know what a modron is. Others have to do with certain types of monsters getting new, harder variants in the 2025 edition, hence the change from Azir to Azir Sentinel, for example. Many of those Monster Manual substitutions also stem from D&D's attempt to leave the concept of inherently evil or cultural behind. I've talked about that. We've had many comments on the video when we were talking about evil species, etc. So I'm not going to come back to that, but I will share that video in the description to this video if you want to go and get involved in the evil versus culture neutral type situation. That's apparent in the changes to the monsters who come from playable races. Drow, for example, is substituted with the more generic Priest Acolyte, which is a standard humanoid stat block which can be subbed in for the character of any other race. Other monsters' names have been changed and removed to remove the negative association with indigenous people, like Orc War Chief to Tough Boss or Lizard Folk to Shaman to Shaman. Indigenous people like orcs and lizard folk. Now, I don't know what world orcs and lizard folk are indigenous, but it ain't this one. And I don't know what Jeremy Crawford's been smoking if he thinks lizard folk and orcs are indigenous folk. It's though, on a serious matter, exchanging out Orc War Chief for Tough Boss kind of does make a little bit sense and Priest Acolyte for Drow. If you are going to be, so if you want a Priest Acolyte and you can just add in and make whatever race or species they're going to be using going forward. The downside for that, and the thing I really dislike about it, is it just means that everything is generic now. There is nothing unique about races or species of any monster or stat block you're going to have. So be it an orc or lizard folk or an ogre, whatever it may be that you decide to have. But Duragar, there's so many, and this is the thing that is so sad to me about this 2025 Monster Manual, is they have got 50 years worth of monsters and creatures and stat blocks and lore and interesting creatures that are all different in height, stature, strength, so they've got different will saves, different, charisma saves, things like that. And now they're just going to go, do you know what? Everything at that level is a tough boss. This is its stats. It's going to be bland. It's going to be stale. And very, very quickly, I think dungeon masters are going to get very bored of running encounters using the same few stat blocks. Yes, you can sit there and go, we've got 500 stat blocks. You kind of got 500 stat blocks. You haven't got 500 monsters, though, have you? And also players are going to go, oh, look, it's a tough boss. It's a drow tough boss. It's an orc tough boss or whatever it may be. They're going to soon learn exactly what that creature does and how to kill it. It's going to me, it's going to make it quite stale, very bland, very, very quickly. And I don't even understand, lizard folk shaman to lizard folk geomancer. Are you saying that from an indigenous point of view, it's offensive for lizard folk to be shaman? So some changes were made to remove gender language. There's a surprise, replacing lizard king, lizard queen with lizard folk sovereign. Okay, that's not too bad. Or you could take royalty, whatever it may be. I still like the idea of using king or queens as a title. If that's what they are, use it. Um, Androsphinx or Geosphinx with Sphinx of Valor, Sphinx of Law. These will make finding these sphinxes easier. I don't like the bloody colours. I did a video on that, on the changes to the sphinx, that they're sort of bright rainbow colours now because they're based more on. So they're not now using the sphinx from Egyptian lore. They're going more into, I can't remember what it is, but go and have a look. They're bizarre looking to me. But whether they were changed to remove the bias or increase accuracy, remove the bias probably. They all serve to make the monster manuals more adaptable. That makes a more useful resource for any Dungeons and Dragons campaign. I completely disagree. Not completely disagree with that last sentence and that last sentiment. They all serve to make the monster manual more adaptable. They do make it more adaptable, which is a much more useful resource. I see the problem I have with this, based on my what feels like hundreds of years of being a dungeon master, is if you're going to caveat the monster manual right at the start and say, these are generic stat blocks, and you can actually call anything what you want to call it. It doesn't really matter. But monsters, an interesting monster and very interesting monster encounters, whether you have to kill them, overcome them, trick them, destroy them, just gain advantages of them, get them down to half hit points, try and get around them. That is the whole purpose to me of running interesting encounters. So it gets the players to have to think other than this is a stat block. We need to just kill the stat block. And I think by taking the lore out, by having these generic creatures, say a Scream Rant saying it make more useful resource, I don't think it's going to. I think it's going to be more of an appalling resource to use. It's going to be very, very boring. Anything that's stat orientated, not lore orientated, doesn't make for an interesting encounter with the players. So that's just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. My name's Adrian from Dungeon and Dyslexia. If you've liked or enjoyed this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.